All right, welcome back. In the last part, we finished up making the skull, and now we're gonna make the jaw of we're gonna make Spike's jaw. So the way that we're gonna start this is you're gonna just section the right plane, so we get a good view of what's going on, and then we're gonna snap to it, and then we're gonna do a sketch, a sketch on the right plane. So we're gonna start by just making a simple sketch, and we want the jaw to like fit within the outer jaw because the goal of the jaw is it's going to be like hinging, opening, and closing, and we don't want it to bump into our outer jaw, so it should fit within our inner jaw. So I'm not even going to dimension this. I'm not even going to dimension this. I'm just going to make a rough shape. Maybe this is, and you could dimension this if you want. I'm just a little lazy right now. So we have our sketch, and this fits within, like this isn't even close to this line, so if it's opening and closing it should be good. And we're gonna extrude this. We're gonna extrude this about the mid plane, so equally on both sides, and we're gonna do 50, and we're gonna uncheck merge result because this is gonna be a new part. And same thing as before, like it's gotta like get narrower, like the more forward you go on the nose. So we're gonna use a chamfer again. So I'm actually just gonna hide the skull because it's kind of in the way right now. So same thing as we did before. I'm gonna chamfer this 40. And then I have to switch this to the opposite direction, and then I'll go on the other side and switch it to the opposite direction, just like that. And then once again, we're gonna shell this. We're gonna select the top and back part at 3 millimeters. So now if we put this back, we've already got a little bit of a jaw going, right? And if you take a section about the right plane, you can see that we're not even close to bumping into the outer part of our jaw, so it'll be free to hinge open and closed. Okay, so now we're gonna jump back to our assembly and orient the servo motor so that it can hinge the mouth open and close. So I'm going to click on my servo motor, and we're gonna rotate this. This guy comes this way. Should be oriented something like this. Okay, so let's move this into the approximate position that it has to be in. So this should be like living within the jaw area. Okay, so it should be in like approximately this position. And once you have it here, here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna apply a couple of mates to get it to the exact position that we want to be in. So you can see here, mine is sort of like slanted. So the first mate that I'm gonna want to do is I'm gonna select this bottom face, and I'm gonna select parallel, and I'm gonna make it parallel to the top plane to make sure that it's flat, right? So now if I slide this over, you can see that this bottom edge is perfectly flat. So the other thing, why is this servo horn like this? How come I can't rotate? I don't know what's going on. I'll fix this. Okay. Also, you see these holes here, and on this side, this hole here, you want to make sure, like, you don't want your servo to be mounted here because basically we're going to be coming from like the sides to put screws through those holes to mount it to the skull. So you want to make sure you definitely have plenty of room to access those. So something like that is a good position, I think. Maybe we could go a little higher. Like that. And then I'm going to lock this position by fixing it because I don't want it to slide around. Oh, okay. Actually, we need one more mate. So we have to slide this over. And I want to make this, I'm going to click the servo horn, this outermost face, and I'm going to click coincident with the right plane so that this piece is sort of centered about the jaw. And because, here, let me, this, whoops. So this servo horn is what's going to be doing the rotating up and down. And we want to make that sure that that's like centered about the jaw so that it could easily move the jaw up and down. So the next thing that we're going to do is going to be building geometry that can sort of attach to this servo horn to move it up and down. Okay, so we're going to go back to our assembly. Once you're happy with the approximate position of the servo horn, make sure that you can access both of these screw holes, this one and this one, and that you're in a pretty good position. You want to get as close to as possible to the jaw. Approximately in this position. We're going to start by editing our master, edit component, click our master, edit component, and we want to make a sketch. We want to make a sketch on the surface of the servo horn. So we're going to right click right by it, select other, and then click the face of the servo horn. And we want to convert entities of the servo horn. We want to get that exact face. All right, so now it gives us all that geometry, right? So I'm going to select all of it and then make it construction geometry because I just want to reference it. So this is the same thing that I was talking about before where you need to give a little bit of space for something to like slide onto it and have it actually fit correctly. My generic rule is 0.25. So let's see here. Offset entities. We're going to select all of this and then select 0.25. We're going to print this out and test it in like a small portion before we print everything to make sure it fits correctly. And I'll show you how to do that later. But for now, let's do 0.25. And then from there, we need to make this sort of connect to the actual jaw piece. So if you press convert entities, I want this line that's like at a slant. So I'm going to press convert entities on there. And then we need thickness all around here. So if you select offset and then click one edge, and if you have select chain selected, it should sort of predict the rest of the lines that you want to select. And then press 5. Make it nice and thick. Oh, also one part, this is one thing that I bumped into when I was making this. For whatever reason, there's like different length servo horns. So instead of this arc, I made it, I added a little extra length to it. Do something like that. And then this has to connect to here. So something like this. And then we take our trim tool, trim. This piece we don't need. And then we're going to extrude. Whoa, way too much. So what do I want to do here? I want to go to, I want this part to hold the servo horn. So I want to go to the exact thickness of the servo horn. I'm going to press up to surface and then go right up to here, select other, and click the opposite face of the servo horn. And that's exactly what we want. And then we just press accept. Boom. So then let's do another sketch on this face. And I'm just going to press convert entities. Basically, I want to make a cap and close it. So make a portion that doesn't have this cutout for the servo horn. And we'll do blind. You could do like 3 millimeters. That's fine. I'm just going to slide this over so we could see exactly like the whole thing of what we're working with. And then if we go back to our assembly, so the way that this is going to connect is it's just going to be a tight press fit. And I've tested this. It works well. And it'll be easy to take the jaw off if we ever want to do it that way. So the way that we do that is we want this piece of plastic to go all the way up to this piece on the servo. So how much further do we have to move that? Oh, wait, let's use the measure tool. So from this surface to this surface is 2.8 millimeters. So we copy that by clicking it. We could go back to our master or edit in this file. And then I'm just going to use move face because it's nice and easy. And I like move face. Boom. And then we just control V our value. Boom. So if we go back, we can see it's like perfectly attached to the servo horn. So the next step is, okay, now we have a way for the servo horn to move the jaw up and down, right? Because the servo horn is going to be connected to this little arm thing that's attached to the jaw, and that's going to move the jaw up and down. But the servo horn has to be fixed somewhere. It has to be staying in one position so it can be locked, and then so the servo is locked in one position, and the servo horn is free to rotate up and down to move the jaw. So how are we going to do that? There's some screws that come with the servo, and we're going to use those to lock that down to the plastic of the skull. So the way that we do that is we're back in our assembly file. I'm just going to hide this stepper motor right now because it's in the way. And then I'm going to do edit component on my master. And I'm going to create a sketch on the same surface of this back surface of this tab where these holes are to mount the servo. So select other, grab that face, and I want to convert entities on these. So I'm going to take this surface and what's going on? Select that surface. Boom. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this extra stuff. I only want like 2 solid blocks behind this. So I'm going to trim all of the features for the circle, and then I'm going to extend these 2 lines with E or extend, and that's under trim. Boom, boom. So now we have 2 solid blocks of material, right? And I'm going to extrude these. Let's do 5. 3 is the minimum, but the more the merrier, right? Add some thickness, add some strength to this guy. So 5. Something that I just realized. Okay, so you know the thing that I was telling you before about how you have to add a little bit of space so things fit correctly? We didn't do that. If we're trying to squeeze the servo between these 2 blocks, it's not going to fit because we made it exactly on top of it. We need to give it a little bit of space. So the way that we can do that is you could do it in the sketch. Once again, I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to use move face. So I'm going to click this face and this face. And we're going to do, let's do 0.25 would be a snug fit. Let's do 0.5. And we want to push it back in the opposite direction. So we want to make space for the servo to sit. So that works. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot. Let's change it to I don't know, zero point 0.3. Just because I'm worried about what my thought process is we're gonna make a hole right behind this hole, and I want there to be enough material between this part, this edge of the wall, and the edge of the hole. Otherwise, the screw's not gonna hold. So it's a fine balance. I think 0.3 will be plenty of space. So now we have to connect these two blocks. So I'm gonna make a sketch on this surface on one of the blocks, and I'm going to connect them. So I'll start out one corner of the block, and then I'll end on the other corner, and it's fully defined. Don't have to dimension at all, and then I'm going to extrude up. I'm looking at this jaw here, and it's a little close. We can edit that in a sec. I'm going to pull this up a bit. Let's do like there. Let's do 15 millimeters. I'm gonna move face my. Maybe you guys have this issue, but I'm gonna move face my jaw just a bit. It's a little bit close to this, and I don't think it'll be an issue, but I'm just gonna push it back like 3 millimeters. So there's ample space between this part and this part. Don't want any issues there. And then I'm going to connect this block by making a sketch to the skull. So, whoops. I'll do a sketch on this piece. And then I'll make this line, hold control, click this line, and I'll make them collinear. Okay. So now I'll extrude. And normally you could do up to surface, but this is a weird scenario because you have one surface here and one surface here. So what do you pick? Well, up to body works well. You could just go up to whatever the next part of this body is. So then I click up to body. Oops. Oh, so the arrow's looking at this way, so we got to go the other way. Like that. Doesn't like that either. What's going on? Oh, it's that same issue as before where this part of the rectangle isn't fully contained here. So you know what? We'll do a convert entities. I'll grab this line and I'll extend it over, and then I'll trim this extra part. Why is this line blue? I'll lock it back onto here by making it collinear. Let's try that again. Now this should work. The issue was we had a little bit of extra rectangle that was going under our body, and it didn't like that. We go the other way. Yeah, okay. That fixed it. That's what it was. Boom. Okay. Okay. So the last thing that we want to do is go back to our assembly. And the way that the kit that you're given will give you some screws to use with the SG90 servo. And the screws that it has are self-tapping screws. So basically what that means is the threads on the screw are cut at such an angle that they can like make their own threads if you are careful with, screwing them into the plastic. So they'll make their own threads into the plastic. So basically all you have to do is undersize the hole a bit And I've already looked this up for us, but the hole size that we need is 2 millimeters. So basically, I want to make a sketch on our support block that we made, and I want, so I know the whole size, but I don't know the whole location. But it's given here from where the hole should be based on the holes on the servo. So I'm gonna convert entities. That guy. And that guy. We're gonna make it reference. And now we have hole positions. So I'm going to make a circle on each of these hole centers, right? And then if I click this one and hold control and click that one and then make them equal, now I only have to dimension one and they're going to be the same size together. 2 millimeters. Boom. There we go. So now what do? We just have to cut it out of our little block. Boom. There we go. Last thing I want to do, you have this like skinny part and connecting to this bigger jaw piece. Fill it. So tight 90-degree corners are stress concentrators. So this thing could, if this thing were to snap off, it would probably snap at this interaction between this piece and this piece because it's going at like a 90-degree angle. If we add a fillet or a round, that eases the stress. The stress has a harder time like shearing this arm off of the jaw. So that's just a tool. Fillets are used all the time in engineering, and they're super helpful to adding a round to a corner. So let's make this 3. Boom. And boom. About here. And I want to also, I'm going to hide my skull piece because I want to get this edge as well. Boom. Okay, so let's put our skull back on. We're all set. This looks really good. So let's, if you weren't sure what was going on there, let me explain it now. So basically, the servo needs to be locked in a position onto the skull. We're doing that using self-tapping screws through these 2 holes, and then they're going to thread directly into the plastic. There's a little hole behind these 2 holes that are undersized so that the self-tapping screw, as you tighten it, is going to make its own threads in the plastic. I'll explain this later too when we're assembling this thing, but just make sure to not over tighten it because it's plastic and the threads will break if you do that. Just be careful when you're putting it in. Then this servo is going to be locked into position. It's going to be connected to the skull through the screws, right? Through those screw holes. Next, because that's locked into a position, now the servo horn, so now the servo horn, this guy is free to rotate up and down. And then what we've done is we've created an arm that the servo horn attaches to, and that arm connects directly to the jaw. So now the jaw can freely rotate up and down. And that's all that we've done. So definitely an easier part to make than the skull, but we're moving through our design. We already used 2 of our electronic components, so we're making good progress. And if you've kept up with it so far, the rest should be fairly easy. So the last thing I want to do is, just like we did for the skull, is just organize all our features into one folder. We'll name this jaw. And also, sometimes when you create new features over and over again, the names will change. So you just have to like rename it. I don't know why it happens. I don't know if it yells at you. It like remembers that it was called skull in the past, and you can't have the same name twice. So I'll just do like skull 2 or whatever. I'll make this jaw 2. And then we'll save that, and we'll be ready for the next part. See you in the next part. Thanks for watching.